When I went to Russia back in the 90s, I went on a trip with the Archbishop of Kostroma. We went on a helicopter trip in a helicopter, one of the big ones, like a transport one, with a general in the Russian army. And we went to visit a monastery, actually. So that's what we were doing. But the general picked, so we got from the diocese, we went with the bishop, we went in the car, we came to the military base. Obviously, this is at the military base. And the general we met was dressed in plain clothes. And it made an impact upon me. He was dressed like a civilian. But everybody else was like saluting him and whatever. He didn't have the need to be the most general-looking guy with all his medals and things like that. He looked just like a civilian, but he was like the top dude there. He was such a top dude that he could be as modest as anyone. So, while you're looking, so there's also, so that's always left an impression in my mind. There was also the example of a Russian priest who said to a much younger priest, he was a very old priest, and he had all the decorations. Now, this is a Russian priest where they give you extra awards. So there's the double cross. He's got 2 crosses, not just one, jeweled crosses, and he's got the mitre, and he's got all of these things. He's an old man, and so he's under the weight of all of these things. And he says to this young priest, he says, we do everything backwards. When you start off as a priest, you should get all of these awards. Start off with everything. Because when you're young, you want them. That's what you want when you're young. You want all of these things. And he says, and the more you get rewarded and the better you do, you get to take one of those things off. When you come to the end, you don't have to have all of this stuff. And that left an impact upon me as well. So, while you're aspiring to all this great glory that you are thinking, there's a great glory in the fact that you can just be modest. Go for a walk on the beach, go for a walk outside in the garden. You are who you will always be. You're not going to be more than you. You are you, and you are unique. And there's a certain acceptance and satisfaction that one must find in who you are. That's what I told you humility is to know who you are, not to put on airs and,
No, of course.
Especially if
That's
you're
the
proud.
opposite of humility.
Yeah, if you're proud, you're thinking high of yourself, and then you're acting humble to make it look like you're less. It's just a lot of nonsense. So, so learn the modesty. So what I'm trying to say, learn modesty, learn simplicity, learn innocence. So the greatness is the greatness to be modest. It's the liberty to walk around without having all your awards and all your paraphernalia. That you can walk around freely in the kingdom of God. And, your rank means you don't have to, you don't have to have all of the wonderful clothing to make you look important.
You don't have to have your signature on every work that is, that you've contributed. My analogy.
And so there's a.
You don't have to sign every painting.
And in what is your satisfaction? It's not in loving. Well, it is in loving yourself, of course. Loving yourself is you love your neighbor, but it's in the love of God, because your love of God is the entirety of your being, all your mind. And this is in the Old Testament, and it mentions in that order. It says, all your mind, love God with all your mind, all your soul. The soul is kind of like that breath, so where your stomach is, the symbol of soul. Your soul is not really there, but I'm just saying, the symbol of the soul is kind of like the tummy. So the mind, the soul, the strength, your right arm, and your heart. Love God with all these elements of your powers and being. And you don't have to put on an air. You don't have to, if you love someone, you don't have to keep on trying to convince them how much you love them. You don't have to convince because it's natural. And you're happy, and and so become more like a child if you want to become more holy. And it's difficult because you're being an adult, and as an adult you marry, you've got children and things. You've got to be more adult. This is why it's difficult to attain that sanctity of the monk, because of his simplicity, because he's being a child. But when you raise children, the monk might not, I can tell you these secrets. there are things that as a monk you cannot understand as far as, let's say, the married life goes. And I don't say for these saints, I don't say for the saints, because they have a simplicity and a genuine clarity of heart and thoughts, and they can see into people's hearts. But for the other monks, let's say, they might have a disregard for the married life, even for the married priest. And maybe for many, for most married priests, perhaps for all of us, that is well placed. But again, for many others, they tend to be overwhelmed and just want to, do the services and get paid for it, because they, almost hand to mouth, so whatever they. So they're not paid very well, and so they just focus on doing blessings and things like that, and trying to make money out of that. So a monk can very easily look down upon the married priest and the married life, but God keeps all things in different ways, and monasticism is a special gift, but the married life is an even it's even a harder, it's harder to achieve sanctity in the married life than it is in monasticism. That's actually why you have monasticism. The whole reason is to make it easier.
Yeah.
Then Paul says that you're not attached to the world, so you're not trying to make. So, but as you make it easier, then of course the fasting and that kind of makes it harder in a certain way, and the obedience, and then you get. People are still people, and there's all sorts of jealousies and rivalries and all sorts of nonsense. I mean, you're a monk, you should have died to the world and whatever it is, but people still have all sorts of things. So there's lots of passions going around in monasteries, lots of passions, but different sorts. And sometimes, unfortunately, not even different sorts. But usually it's different sorts of passions. And then, of course, in the married life, it's a different set of temptations, anxiety in the world, different things that you face. So it's different. I want to just tell you it's different. And it is harder in the world, but it's also easier in a way. So I can't, everything has its own gift. There's a hard, so both are hard in different ways, and both are easy in different ways. It's different, but cannot be despised. Don't despise it, because one who attains chastity in marriage is greater than the one who attains chastity in monasticism, if we must talk about greatness and whatever that is supposed to mean. So rather than worry about comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to the saints. So don't compare yourself positively by saying, well, what is that saint? And you compare it positively by saying, well, what is the nature of that sanctity? If you compare yourself wrongly, it's because you have a wrong view of that sanctity, and then you're trying to go be something the saint is not. Rather be something that the saint is. So compare yourself in this way and become what he is. And what is he? He's modest. He's childlike. He's innocent. He doesn't need to have all the medals to be the general. He can just be civilian clothing, and everybody's got to salute him, and because he has the authority, and he has the authority. He has the authority because he has the purity of heart. So rather be like that old priest who has everything taken off. He's achieved all the awards, and now he can take off all of those awards, and and if you want, start off with all the awards that you want. So start off now, and just imagine how great you are in the kingdom of God. And as you make progress, you get the liberty to take off some of those medals and awards, and then at the end of the day, you can just be who you are. That is the purest form of humility. Is just is who are you? Just be who you are. And who are you? I am that I am because God is. I am because God is. And I choose to be, not just I am forced to be. I choose to be. even if I don't have to be. I choose to be because God is. I am because
Yeah.
God is, and I live because God is.